Hi, I'm attorney Vincent Davis, and I've been fighting CPS for over 35 years. Through my years of experience, I've gained invaluable insights that I'm ready to share with you. If you're a parent or a caregiver or a relative, we need to talk. I'm offering a new opportunity for you to speak with me on a one-on-one basis. Ask me any questions, and I'll provide you with the insight you need to take steps in your CPS case. Members get everything they need to gain confidence and the knowledge that they need to support necessary to truly fight back. And as a special thank you for attending, I have a special offer just for you. Don't miss out, join us, and let's take that next step together. I'll see you at the question and answer event.
Good evening and welcome. You just heard a message from attorney Vincent W. Davis, who sponsors my podcast. I'm Bob Pace. I'm here to fight CPS and stop taking our children. And I want to warmly welcome you. What Mr. Davis was trying to convey is that on Saturday, the 12th coming up at 10 o'clock, he has a special Zoom question and answer session where he'll give you insights of how to fight CPS. And it's welcome to you all. And if you're a member of the Skool team, you get in there at no cost. Also, if you want to become a member, that second email that was shown on the screen will help you. It will play again at the end of my podcast. So if you didn't quite get that, also, I have messages from this room, from other rooms that will tell you about the how to become a member, how to join the Skool. So I know this is a very terrible and troubling time for you. So I warmly welcome you. I want to put you at ease that we will try to help you get your children back or stop taking the children. Now, as I said, it's a live podcast. You found me on Facebook. I'm broadcast on YouTube using the StreamYard application. And I have several ways that you can participate in this podcast. There are four. The first way is right now, what you're doing right now is that you are participating as a guest in my room. And you can do emojis where you can do hands up, thumbs up, I guess it is, the hearts, or the smiley faces. Also, you can send me stars. I love lots of stars, and that would be great. Also, I encourage you all to take notes and to listen very carefully because there are a lot of things that we discuss. People come in a room that are regulars that help you out. Also, there's new people that come in here and they'll talk about issues that may pertain to your case. So please check below if you want to subscribe, and also check below if you want to get notification. So the next step I have that you can interact with the podcast is to make comments. Now, making comments is all you do is you type them in the message window, and they can be formed not only in comments, you can form them in full of questions. I like them to pertain to CPS. That's what we're in here. Now, the CPS I call is a child protection system. It's a branch of social services that is protecting our children from neglect and abuse, and also to help out families in need with help with food, clothing, shelter, education for the children, medical, and a job. And that's the second thing they're supposed to do. And the third thing is they're supposed to bring the family back together, called reunification. If the children are in imminent danger, they must take the children from your home. Then their goal is to have family reunification because the best parents for children are the biological parents. I cannot stress that. That is so important. So the third way to interact with this podcast is to schedule to be our guest. Now, I have a show producer. Her name is Grace, and special praise goes out to her. She has a wrenching thing that's happened to her, and I know what she feels like. But I want everybody to pray for my show producer. It's Grace. I want to thank her for what she does. She helps keeps the room running. She has ideas, and I'm very thankful for her. Now, to be a guest on my podcast, I can take up to 9 more of you, and we can have a total of 10 windows. And it is great that you want to be our guest. Now, to be our guest, all you do is email grace@vincentwdavis.com. That's grace@vincentwdavis.com. And you want to email her one of my 14 show times. I'm on 7 days a week, Monday through Sunday. I'm on in the morning at 10 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, and again on at 7 o'clock Pacific Standard Time in the evening. Now, there's 2 exceptions. This Friday, for the next couple of Fridays now, I got a bunch of Fridays coming up, is Monday Night Lights. Is the high school football season. So I'm there watching the football game at 7 o'clock. So I come on a couple hours early. I come on at 4 o'clock in the afternoon on Friday and be done by 5. Then on Sunday, I go to church and I do my show 2 hours ahead of time at 8 o'clock in the morning, Pacific Standard Time. So I do 14 shows a week, so you have a chance not to miss anything. There's a lot of my shows you can watch that are pre-recorded and so forth there. So please email Grace with your show time that you pick, evening or morning shows. All you have to say that Monday through Sunday. Now, she will send you a link to StreamYard, which is the application I use to broadcast on YouTube. And StreamYard is linked that will be able to get you on the show. If you happen to get knocked off the show, use that link again. It's good for that show. It's good for that show. So don't lose the link there. Also, she'll tell you what you can do and not do on the podcast, such as no eating or smoking on the podcast. And we don't use the children's names, the judges' names, or the social workers' names on the podcast. So that's the third way. The fourth way is a call on my office phone number. My office phone number is now up, and it's 626-698-0990. And you can call me and speak on my phone. I can turn the speaker on so everybody else can hear you in the room. Please try to have the background sound turned down. Please have the background sound turned down. Now, I think I forgot something on my second way of doing my podcast, which is the comments. Now, the comments, you need to show your name. Your first name is fine. The city or county, the state, and if you're from another country, you're more than welcome to do comments because I've had 14 countries. All I ask is for the city, the province or state, and your country. And be complete with your CPS case if you can. Tell me as much as you can from the beginning so there's not a lot of guesswork, and what your family makeup is, what the ages of your children and the sexes of your children, what were the allegations, and how were the children taken from the home, and where you at on your case. Now, when I mention countries, I've had Bangladesh, New Delhi, India. I've had a country in the Middle East. That was in Arabic. I don't know what country it was. I have the continent of Africa with Liberia on the northwest coast. And then I have Rwanda at the central east part of Africa near Lake Victoria. Then I have Mozambique opposite on the east coast, opposite Madagascar. And then I have the west coast province of South Africa. Moving up, I have Europe, England, Scotland, Wales, part of the United Kingdom. And then I have Denmark and Sweden. Moving across the pond to North America, I've had Canada, the provinces in Canada, the 50 states, and including Washington, D.C., the United States. I've also had Indian tribes, both from Canada and both from the United States, call in. And I've also had social workers. I've had 3 of them. And we're still looking for a policeman that's been involved in CPS, and he can share his story. We go further south to Mexico, and um, I have Mexico, and then South America, I have Guyana on the coast, east of Venezuela, north of Brazil in South America. Then across Pacific, I have the land down under. I've had Australia on the east coast, the Gold Coast, Sydney, and then I've had Melbourne on the south coast, and that's the state of Victoria. And so that's my worldwide involvement. I'm open to everybody. I just want everybody to be nice in this room and respect each one another and help one another. We all need to help because you've encountered a very bad agency. I don't know how bad I can tell you, but it's really bad. They're very corrupt. I too was for 15 years been fighting CPS. Now I'm not an attorney. I'm a father. I have a family of 6 children, and I have a wife of 32 years. And I do know what it's like to have children that are trafficking into foster care. I lost my home. I lost my job. I've had many things thanks to the CPS, what they did, because I didn't know the things that I can share with you. There are 5 rules that I have, which will help you. I can also talk about the kinds of social workers. Also, I have topics every day. We're discussing things. So I have, lots of topics to talk about. The ICWA, which is the Indian Child Welfare Act of 1978. And so with that being said, there is a lot that I can go over. Now, I usually can go in different directions. And one way is I can tell you about CPS and how difficult they are. Another way is I can tell you about my case and how bad it was. And then I can talk to you also about the rules that I've made that will help you in your case. Then I have all the topics, and then I have something called Core's Digest. Now, Core's Digest is sort of a question answer series. It's about CPS questions. I get sent email. This is subscribed to Core, and it's generated for CPS cases. It's generated for CPS cases. Now, last night we were talking to Natia from West Hollywood, California. We wanted to finish with her, so she should be coming on. She said that she would. Also this morning, another girl, Faye Manling, was talking about an issue that we need to explore further. It's how the mental issue of that is that when you are approached by a policeman, how they can use the mental law and how they can abuse it and so bad. I'm at home broadcasting. I live in Southern California in Surf City, USA, about 3 blocks from the beach, and I have my door open, and outside I hear a child screaming, which is normal. So, that's really good. Now, hopefully Natalie will join me. Usually my first 10 minutes is about what you can do in this podcast. And then I also have other people that I talk to too. And I'll ask them to join me too. And so we have someone's made a comment already. Yay! Wow. Faye, hey Bob. Yes, I can see you. We got it fixed, Faye. Thanks to Grace, we got it fixed and it works in fine. We had all our rooms that were disconnected for some time. Now they're all connected, and now we can get more people in. Right now, I see 2 people, one from the reality series, another one from the juvenile dependency. There's also people in my room that will not show up, I found out, because I was speaking with a lady last night from Georgia who had a hard, difficult case. And I asked her, are you still in the room? She said she was, and my CNI was 0. So people can come in this room, and, I know that when you recognize, you can type in the comment there. But Faye, what would you like to talk about? I'd asked Natalie to come in to finish her case. What would you like? We were talking about mental disorders earlier today and how the police can come out and use that and arrest you right on the spot. Did you want to talk about that, or is there something else you'd like to talk about, Faye? We can also talk about core. We haven't talked about that in days too. I'll wait for Faye's answer. Let me go see what Core Digest has. One thing I will tell you about my phone number, it's live during the show, but not during the other after the hours or before the hours. I had several people call me today that I can't answer. So it's important that you call me during the show hours. So if anybody out there listening, that would be great. Oh, good. I have lots of Core Digest. Lots of Core Digest here. Oh, drug screening and fraud labs. That's a good topic. Do you want to call in and talk about that, Faye? Or do you want me to go ahead and I talk about it? Okay, I'm going to talk about some Cora questions and see what comes up there. Okay. Now here is a question that Cora put out. And of course, someone always answer it. It may not be the right answer, and we could come up with other answers there. But this question came up. Has anyone ever compiled a big list of what they did to get their children or their children back after CPS took their kids? Well, a girl named Laura, who's a former CPS case manager, made the answer. She was a county social worker for over 30 years. I know what the client mother must do to get their kids back. The great majority of her cases are based on illegal drug use, as well as undiagnosed mental health issues. Now, mental health issues is one of the areas that Faye wants to talk about. So that is good that Faye brought that up there because drug screening and fraudulent labs, because all the time they want to take your hair follicle, your test, and so forth. And there's a great issue about that. Now, this former CPS case manager, her name was Laura. The great majority of her cases, she said, are based on illegal drug use as well as undiagnosed mental health issues. First, get yourself into a live-in drug treatment. Now, she's insinuating that most people have a drug problem. I don't think that's the case of a lot of you. I think a lot of you had a layperson call in an accusation as for retaliation. It's not a legitimate accusation. Don't quit. Okay, that's true. If you're in a drug treatment, don't quit. Start drug testing when you complete the program. Now, drug testing, they want to use their labs, but you should use your labs from your health insurance. You need to get that lab approved, though, so that social workers, so you have to have the judge approve it. So you need to have the information ahead of time when you go to court. Start drug testing when you complete the program. So you're going to go through a drug treatment program, but I think you need to be drug tested all the time. It's a weekly thing. So It's not when you complete the program. Visit your children as often as possible. They should have visitations. They may be monitored, unmonitored, depending on the extreme. That's a good point that the social worker put out. Take the parenting classes. There are lots of parenting classes that will help you. You may know all about parenting, but it doesn't hurt you to take more classes. We're not born with how to raise children or divorce or marriage or all the other things you have in life. I call them life skills. And I think you should have life skills all through your elementary, middle school, and high school lives. You should take life skills such as how to deal with CPS, how to balance your checkbook, how to date, how to marry. There's all kinds of subjects in there. So take those parenting classes. Don't fail to show for a test. If you have a test, be there, be on time. Be respectful to the case manager. I know you're angered, and I know that some are bad. Not all case managers are bad. You got to fill it out. Not all areas are bad. I just know my experience was bad. Faye's experience was bad. And Natalie. Hi, Natalie. Welcome. It's crazy today. What's so crazy about it, Natalie? What's so crazy about it? Now, the case manager does write reports to the court about your progress. Just concentrate on doing one challenge at a time. Do not get overwhelmed by worrying about several challenges you must start in the first 6 months. If you're making progress, the worker will ask the court to give you another 6 months to finish. If you finish, the child returns to your home, but the worker will drop by anytime to see if your child looks well cared for or if you're high on drugs. This continues for the third 6 months, and if you test clean each time, the case is closed. Congratulations. Well, that is one of the better answers I've seen. That came from a social worker, and it sounds like she may be okay. Yes, Natalie, people do need life skills and need to be carefully. Mike Gardner stepped on the paint can in the backyard. Okay, Natalie, did you want to finish your story we were talking to you about last night? Did you want to call in and finish your story, Natalie? Now, my number is posted on the screen, so you can call that number, Natalie. Okay, we got Natalie called in.
Hello.
Good evening,
Yes,
Natalie.
you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Hello?
Yes, I can. I hear you fine.
Okay. Hello, Bob. Hello, everybody.
Yep. I was just talking about a social worker's answer to how to get your case over and how to complete it. It was really logical.
How to complete the case. Okay.
So that's what I was talking about when you came in there. But last night you were talking about your cases, and I like to kind of refresh the listeners and help you out a little bit. Natalie,
Okay.
and see if I learn something or listen to it. Natalie has 3 children. She has 3
Right.
children. She has a boy and 2 girls. Now she had her girls earlier, and what happened is that she had problem with a strange man in the neighborhood that made a strange complaint. The worst part about Natalie is that when she was at home, she was taking a shower when CPS came, and they were trying to talk to her at the door. Now, she did not know about not answering the door or not talking to social workers. So she's talking to social workers, and somehow she showed a letter that this man had sent her. They also sent the social workers, and it got confusing to them. Now, who came was not the social workers, but the sheriff. It was the LA County sheriff because she lives in West Hollywood. And so it was a female sheriff, and she thought that Natalie was crazy, so she wanted to take her in for 72 hours to a medical hospital to determine if she's okay, only because of maybe the answers that she was giving or something along those lines. I wasn't there. Of course, Natalie was. So when they did that, they took the children, but they didn't turn the children over to the social worker quite. Yes, they took the children to the police station. Is that right?
Yes. And my brother was there, and he kept asking for my kids.
Now,
and
why did you?
And my brother said, well, I'm going to have my attorney show up.
You know,
and they still did nothing.
Yeah. Why did your brother?
He had to have his attorney show up. Yeah.
Why did your brother have to go along?
What do you mean?
Well, could your brother stay home and have the kids stay with him?
Yes, but the stupid police didn't want to return my kids to my brother.
Right. We don't need to make negative remarks about the police. I know that they're stupid and bad. I just want to be very professional, because if there are police listening, I hope one day a policeman will call in and tell me how he does the child protection system. Yeah. So anyway,
the sheriff did take my girls. You're correct on that. And then I guess
now, when they took your girls, did they have car seats for them?
I have no idea whether they had car seats for my children, because what happened was they took me and then they took my daughters.
Okay. All right.
So they handcuffed me, and then they took my daughters out of the window.
Now, for all you listeners out there, I want you to hear something. They can, if they suspect a person is crazy. I'm sorry saying that.
Mentally unstable.
Yeah, maybe unstable there.
They will have a mental problem.
They will take your children. Will arrest you for the purpose. And I think what's happened is may have been a bad policeman. And I think maybe they, I'm trying right now to look at the LA County arrest. Okay. Now, they can arrest you if they suspect you of having a mental illness, but they got to meet criteria. They just can't arbitrarily arrest you. So the criteria that they said is that the deputy must have probable cause to believe the person is in danger to themselves or other, or is gravely disabled due to a mental disorder. Now, in LA County in California, they have a mental evaluation team called MET, and they can call them for assistance, and they can help out with crisis intervention, documentation, and court testimony. Now, the police must take the person to a state-approved facility, and the person can be placed in a facility for a 72-hour evaluation and treatment. So when they're responding to a call involving someone, someone had reported that Natalie was mentally ill. That's why she got that weird letter. And deputies should consider the person's mental illness may impact ability to understand and respond to instructions. So I don't know, because I wasn't there. The calls are called a 16-003 calls for service involving alleged mental ill persons. The purpose of this directive is to establish policy and procedures for responding and handling calls for service of all persons who may be mentally ill. So what happened was, did you go to the police station first, Natalie?
No, what happened was, so this is even more horrible. So they took my daughters out of the window.
I'm going to let you continue talking. I need to excuse myself for a moment.
Anyway, so then they took my kids out of the window. It was open on a big front window. It's like 60 by 50. It's very big. It's like a showroom window. And then they handcuffed me. They took all my bracelets. They stole my house keys, okay, for the two properties. Then it was really creepy. They left the house open so that could be, And then after that, she said, you're going to go to the hospital. I said, what? So meanwhile, my kids are screaming and scared and terrified, and they were beating up my neighbor, who was an elderly gentleman. He was he's almost 80 years old. It was excessive. It was like 8 police.
Okay. Now, I'll pause there for 1 second. Faye just made a comment here. Never ride in a car with a cop if not arrested. Of course, she was arrested, but they never read her rights. Were you ever read your Miranda rights?
No.
Wow.
No.
So
they arrested me. They let me sit in the car, and my kids are crying. They're terrified. My oldest daughter's screaming.
Can we stop for a second,
my little daughter
Natalie?
And she doesn't know anything. She only knows me and my mom.
Natalie, can I stop and finish? Natalie, I was talking about what Faye says, but I didn't finish it.
Okay.
And hold on. And I was, okay. Faye further says, I was never placed in handcuffs. So an officer volunteered to take Faye, but she was never placed in handcuffs, and I was not escorted into the hospital, but found out later after getting my records that he arrested me. And even though I signed myself in, it was put on record as involuntary hospitalization. So what Faye is doing, she's joining you and supporting what you're saying, So
thank you, Faye. I really appreciate it, but they did arrest me. They did handcuff me.
Yeah.
And that traumatized my daughter because what happened much later, I think 2 years later, she explained that to the foster mom that was Peruvian.
Right. Now,
she still remembered it.
So when you went to the hospital, were you Still in handcuffs when you showed up to the hospital?
Yes.
And where were the kids
So
at that time?
They actually exchanged me with two other officers. One was a officer that he was American anyway, and the other one was Hispanic. So then it was pretty scary for me because now I'm handcuffed with two men and I don't know who they are.
Okay, but where were your children all this time?
They were with the police, and they're probably in the police station, and then they took me to county hospital, USC.
Now, did they assure you that your children were fine? Did they try to reassure you?
They never told me anything. They never told me anything.
So you were traumatized by this arrest.
Right.
They
never told me anything. And then the social worker and the folks, she's not DCFS, she's a clinical licensed social worker for your needs
now was she at the hospital when you arrived, or was that later? I'm talking about just at the hospital.
What happened?
Well, yeah, I'm trying to do. You're at the hospital. Did the social worker show up?
No. So what happened is
before we talk about the social worker.
This is what happened. Can I explain?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay. So when I got to the hospital, the policemen were making up stories about me. They were saying I was deranged, I was delusional. They said that I had another property in Bel Air, which is true. I do have two properties in Bel Air. They're not that far from each other. You can walk to them. Anyway, so then they said that I made up all the stories that that was my grandparents' house I was living in, and for the time it was nonsense. And then the doctor, she was actually like upset. She says, "What do you mean? I'm supposed to understand this situation. I'm the psychiatrist. What do you mean you cannot put these statements?" So then basically when the doctor interviewed me, she asked me all these questions. I still can't remember. So I had no house keys, and I only had a T-shirt and some pants and shoes. Okay, I was basically had nothing, and then so then they put me in a gown and all that, and then they examined me if I was like hurt or anything, those kind of things, and then after that, they took my jewelry off and put it in a bag, and I still didn't have my house keys. That frightened me, and the pets and my kids. And then they put me in a bed, and then I stayed there. And then the doctor, she came, she asked me more questions, and then they gave me food, and then I took a shower, and I stayed only for a day.
Okay, now stop there for a second, because Faye said something more about her similar case. She says she was not handcuffed, and the officer never walked me in. Did the officer walk you in?
Yeah, he did. There were two officers.
All right. Faye walked in herself into the hospital and signed herself in because it was what a social worker said I had to do to get my kids back.
I see.
I stayed 72 hours and was let to sign myself out because the psych doctors found no issues with me. Now, did the mental health professionals find any issues with you, the doctors?
Yeah, she said I was traumatized.
Okay.
And also,
but you were not considered mentally.
What?
They said you were not considered mentally hurt or ill or anything.
They said I was not mentally ill. I had an adjustment problem.
Okay. All right. Okay.
So that means that like when someone dies, you're sad and you're trying to figure things out, but you're not mentally ill.
Okay. So meanwhile, your children are taken to the police station. What happened next after 72 hours? Did they feed you dinner?
Yeah, they did, and I was in the bed and everything. They fed me dinner, they fed me lunch, and then
And where
I had
was
to
your
shower,
and
and
where
I
was your
showered
brother?
again.
Where was your brother all this time?
What?
Where was your brother?
My brother was trying to get the girls at the police station, but they wouldn't give them to him.
So how did the social worker get involved?
Well, basically, this police called the social worker, the CPS.
Was there a social worker at the hospital?
Yeah, there was one, but it's not a CPS social worker. It's a mental health needs social worker.
Oh, okay. So,
she cannot. She didn't. She asked. I asked where my daughters are.
you kept stressing about your daughters, right? And they ignored you, didn't they?
She didn't ignore me at all.
Oh.
She kept. She was a. She suspected that they could be with my brother.
Oh, but they're actually with the police. Yeah. Now, how did you?
She's not allowed to say anything to the CPS.
Now, how did you get home after? How did you get home after 72 hours?
I had no money.
Well, I understand that, but how did you get home after the 72 hours? How did you get home?
Right. So then you get to this. So the nurse gave me a blouse. It was cold. It was still summer for me, but I have problems. Okay. So she gave me a blouse. I just had like a tank top from my mom. Okay. And then she gave me a blouse, and then they said, well, you can go to the front desk to the main hospital and get a bus token.
Right. That's what Faye just said. Faye just said you get a bus voucher. So you had to go home on a bus. They didn't. Now, what about your arrest? If the police said they arrested you, did they give you a ticket or anything?
I didn't get a ticket. I didn't even have house keys.
Oh boy.
They stole my house keys.
Yeah, they really did a number on you, and that's wrong. And that's the LA County Sheriffs. And if any LA County Sheriffs are listening, please call in and maybe you can help explain to me about the procedures
and
of
this was
taking.
Even more frightening. So yeah. I had no house keys. I tried. I called my brother from the hospital. He wouldn't pick up. Finally, my neighbor in Bel Air, she picked up the phone and said, "Okay, I need my house keys. I need them."
Okay.
And so my brother had extra ones, and he gave me that. She gave her the house keys.
Okay.
And this is even creepier. So I went back to my parents' house, and the police actually had access to get in my house. And there was a lock gate and everything. I don't even know how they got in. There were things missing. The drawers were open in the kitchen. And I know, like, I never left the drawers like that because I knew even if my mom's last breath is like, do not touch my stuff.
So what you're saying is, are you saying, can I ask you a question? Are you saying that the police came back while you're at the hospital and ransacked your house?
Yes.
Wow.
I went in my dad's room, and they didn't really go in it, but they knocked my bookshelf down next to where the bathroom is.
Now, this is the house in West Hollywood or the house in UCLA?
It was in Bel Air. It was just like, I mean, it made me upset.
Oh.
Yes, my mom didn't keep the house organized or whatever, but it's like they touched her stuff. And, my mom just died and my dad died. And it's just disrespectful for them. And my parents always used to say, don't let anybody in the house. And I never did.
Right. But you open the door. And the thing is, for all you listeners out there, I have rule number 3. You don't answer doors. More problems happen when you answer a door than not answering the door. It's best that the first time around you don't answer the door. And it's
really suspicious how they must have jumped over the gate because I did have the remote. I remember that, and I kept it. And my brother, and I locked the gate. I remember that specifically. And then
yeah.
It was just, I mean, I hid even the remote in the house. And so then when I got back from there and I took my whatever I could, I came back to my house in West Hollywood. They stole my children's clothes and mine. It was a bag of clothes.
Well, you know what Faye did? Faye just said that in her house, she has smoke detectors, and inside the smoke detectors, she had hidden cameras inside. So she's telling people out there that you should put cameras in your smoke detectors because they'll take pictures of people who ransack your house.
It's so bizarre that they would go through the kitchen.
Well, no one knows this. Well, see, no one is going to know this, Natalie. No one knows this because you trust the government. I trusted them. I was so bad when they ransacked my house and stuff. And
oh my God.
It was really, 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 really bad. Of course, they had every Tom, Dick, and Harry when they investigated my house. Not only did they have the detective, they had 2 uniformed policemen, 3 social workers. Then they had 6 firemen, and they had 2 code enforcement, and they were determined to find something.
This was frightening to me because I knew that if they actually uncovered more stuff, my mom actually had like valuable stuff that they could go through it because she had like real expensive jewelry, like from the 20s, the 30s, and that frightened me the most. And then another thing is my dad had like collection of rare books. I mean, it was just like, okay, how far do you want to go? I mean,
well, the search and seizure laws, there's laws for search and seizures. And they got to have a warrant, first of all, to search your home. They got to get either a permission from you or have a warrant to search your home. And then they plus have to have 2 officers present anytime they do a search so one could watch what the other's doing. But then again, the police are corrupt anyway, and they're going to protect their own. So, unfortunately, you've been had by the system. You were taken advantage of you. You're a good person. And so I'm so sorry to hear that. I really am. When you got home, what happened next? How did you connect with a social worker?
So what happened was when I was in the hospital, they informed my brother's attorney that my children were taken by CPS. And that made me even more angry at that time because I can't believe this. And then I never got notice from CPS that they're supposed to, according to Mike, my lawyer, they're supposed to call you. And within 72 hours that they have custody of your children. But they can't, but you have to have a hearing.
Right. Now, Faye from Richmond, Kentucky said, the cops illegally searched my home during the day that my kids were being removed with no warrant, and they didn't find anything, but my house was a mess, and they had no reasonable suspicion to do so because I had no history of drugs or weapons. The only thing that Faye had working against her is as a young child, she was in and out of foster care 5 times. Hold on 1 second here. Anyway, Faye further said, I didn't get to be a part of the 72-hour hearing that they had it while I was in the hospital. Wow.
Yeah, I didn't get that either.
Really?
Then later they had a hearing, which is crazy.
Okay. Well, I thought the
But
70.
they already took my kids, and then and they weren't like, you know.
I thought the 72-hour hearing was the 72 hours is for the time in the hospital. What do you mean by hearing? I'm confused. What's a hearing?
It's for the children, so you will have like a 72-hour notice.
You do about your children?
Right.
Okay.
You have to have notice. They can't just do that.
Okay.
They have to call me and say, we have your kids. They never did that.
Wow. And Faye, did they call you about they had your kids? Did they ever call you too? She said she wasn't part of the series to hearing. No, they had a shelter care hearing. Oh, it's called a shelter.
They have to show proof they have your child. They have to, or the social worker has to meet you at somewhere to say we have your child, and there will be a hearing.
Okay. So there is a 72-hour hearing they're supposed to do to inform you about where your kids are and what's going to happen, and whether your kids will remain in custody or be returned. So that's called a 72-hour hearing. They did not do that in my case. It was so weird how this is what happened with my case. I, was there to let them into my home because I did not know better. And so I sat there and showed them the house, took them around the house. And then the social worker says, we're taking your son. I said, well, why? He's in imminent danger and we've picked up your other two kids. I said, in danger about what? And he said, well, it's neglect. You have some boxes in the living room and they could hurt the children. So that was their cop out. The children were not in danger. They never were in danger. And I didn't know that. And they never had a hearing. Now they did have with me 5 days later, they had a hearing. It's called a case plan to talk about where the kids will be, whether they could be with a family member or not.
Right.
So maybe that's the hearing. I don't know. Maybe they have to have a hearing within 72 hours. They took 5 days. They took 5 days.
But this was beyond 72 hours. This is like a week.
I know. They don't seem to follow their own rules. And Faye was denied to present her side during that 72-hour thing they never have. So it sounds like you, Natalie, Faye, and myself were denied that 72-hour hearing. I didn't know until right now. I still, even though my case happened 2010 and went to 2015 to 2017, I'm still learning every day about my case. And it's been 15 years.
So they deny that, and then they have like the detention hearing.
Yes.
Okay, that's ridiculous.
Right. They did have the detention hearing. Now, what happened with my children, they said they're in danger, so they'd take them, so they put them in a foster care shelter. It was a concrete block, looked like a prison because it's next to the juvenile prison, and it was dirty, full of cockroaches, and the food was terrible, and their play yard was open to the juveniles' play yard, so there's no separation from juvenile prisoners and from the children that were in that foster care shelter. Then from there, they were put into, after my week went by, they're put into my wife's sister and husband's family. So we were able to put the children in with them for there. But that's interesting how it seems like you, me, and Natalie all went through the same thing again. All went through the same thing.
Yeah, because this is a child trafficking industry, and they want us to basically like not have our kids.
Right. And Faye says her kids were not taken to a foster home. They were taken to an adoption home. Wow. In Kentucky, I guess they have a thing called adoption home. I don't know what adoption home is. Maybe it's a home that the parents are prepared to adopt a child already. Usually, I thought they have to first be talked about. But anyway, foster care is very, very, very corrupt. For some of you that do not know about foster care is what the child protection system uses to place children for adoption and to get them away from you, to terminate your rights to your children. And in foster care, those people are not well trained, they're not well vetted, they will hurt your children, and their own children, if they have their own children, will also molest your children. So it's really a bad thing.
They molest the kids, and then the social worker can traffic them into horrible situations.
Right, they do that.
And one girl on YouTube, she said that she was part of the Riverside CPS. They trafficked her into a Playboy party in Simi Valley, and they were doing horrible sex things.
Now in Kentucky, they have an adoption home, and what it is that their only purpose is to adopt a baby / child. So that's what adoption home is. And I think that's very corrupt. Foster care is supposed to be a temporary arrangement with the children until the parents straighten out what they did was wrong and the children can be returned to the family. But in your case, what happened after the first week? What happened? Right.
1997, he changed that.
Right.
So
what
he
happened?
made a Permanency Adoption Act.
Right. The Permanency
you can have
Adoption Act
your
happened.
rights removed unconstitutionally, because under the 14th Amendment of the Constitution, your rights are secure as a parent.
Now,
so that's,
what happened after a week goes by with your children? Where were they?
They put them with this Peruvian woman who did not speak English.
Well, okay, we can say a woman.
Spanish.
Okay, we can say, but that was an adoption mother?
She was a foster mom, so she had multiple children.
So she was put with a foster mom. I don't want to start talking about the ethnic backgrounds because I don't want to bring ethnic.
No, because I just had to remember this. But
I know that. Okay. She was a foster mom who had her ethnics from another country. That's fine. But anyway, that's what happened there. Now, I have our time right now showing about 3 minutes left. And so my time is almost up here. And so I'm going to stop it here. We're going to finish this further now. We'll continue the story till tomorrow night. But it's been really great, Faye, sharing the story. And to all your listeners out there, this is valuable information. There's something called a hearing. There's something called adoption homes. You got to be careful of these things. It's a chance to learn. Now, Faye is speaking from Kentucky. Natalie is speaking from California. So things may be done different from each state. But I want you all to keep fighting. Don't give up. Like that question I read at Cora. The social worker said, do not give up. Keep continuing diligently. And if you can only get one task done, that's okay. They'll give you more time. But you got to keep on it. And also, you got to have an attorney. And a court-appointed attorney is not going to help you, but that may be the only thing you have. And I do have an attorney you could talk to, Mr. Davis, and he can be talked to with a consultation. All you have to do is schedule that. And it's a discounted Zoom consultation, and it's for 30 minutes for $60. You go to the website, https:// Candly, CALENDLY.com/APPTSVWD / Bob Pace. And he will talk to you. You need to talk to him for 30 minutes for $60 because you need to get an attorney. Watch my other shows. I talk more in depth about court-appointed attorneys and about hiring an attorney and so forth. But I do have to end my show. So thank you, Natalie, and thank you, Faye.
You're welcome. God bless you all. Pray.
Right. I will be signing off, but there'll be an ad for Mr. Davis that will follow. when I remove. So good night, y'all. I'll see you tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock.
Hi, I'm attorney Vincent Davis, and I've been fighting CPS for over 35 years. Through my years of experience, I've gained invaluable insights that I'm ready to share with you. If you're a parent or a caregiver or a relative, we need to talk. I'm offering a new opportunity for you to speak with me on a one-on-one basis. Ask me any questions, and I'll provide you with the insight you need to take steps in your CPS case. Members get everything they need to gain confidence and the knowledge that they need to support necessary to truly fight back. And as a special thank you for attending, I have a special offer just for you. Don't miss out. Join us, and let's take that next step together. I'll see you at the question and answer event.